All right, this week I'm actually going to get back into talking about nutrition. So, just recently today, doing like normal Saturday routine and stuff, I got caught up on the Jocko podcast that I started listening to back in November. So, the latest episode that I was listening to was 428. It's titled "Lift Heavy Things, Move, and Get Enough Protein" with Dr. Gabrielle Lyon. So Dr. Gabrielle Lyon is like, in a sense that you could say, a frontline doctor in like the nutrition science, and so a lot of stuff that's coming out recently is back in the 90s, fat was demonized, like, oh well, that's totally bad for you, and of course now, like, with the more up to date research, it's showing that carbs are probably not as good for you as like if you were to eat fat. And of course, Cat has to make his presence known as soon as I'm doing a video. So now we're looking of course, 20-30 years later, after fat was demonized, we're saying oh wait, actually fat isn't as bad as it necessarily is. But of course, like with everything, what you got to do is got to take stuff that you're coming across, like the information and everything. You're like, okay, how do I apply this to me, and how do I go about using this information to better myself? So it's a good nearly 3 hours long, the podcast. This is normal for the Jocko podcast, where they usually bring on someone and they go for a good 2 or 3 hours where they're talking about a certain subject. So with the whole this whole one, the title entails lift heavy, move, eat enough protein, and of course a lot of times protein is removed out of the equation when it comes into the macronutrients of the protein, carbs, and fats and everything. So what you want to do is look at your situation. So if you're someone like me who's pretty much been doubling up on the workouts for a while now, doing strength training and cardio, someone like me might need more carbs than someone who's pretty much sedentary. So one of the things they mentioned is the average intake of carbs is 300 grams per day per individual. So and most of those carbs are from pretty much junk. So your donuts, your ding dongs, your ho hos, and of course I use the campfire analogy that your carbs are your kindling, and your fats are your logs. So you probably will want a combination of both, but you'll have to look at your unique situation always. So and of course you want to use those two macros as your energy, and of course the protein is pretty much the essential. And of course there's so many more there's so many numbers out there that you'll come across. Some say you only need 0.6 to 0.7 grams, and some was what was mentioned with Dr. Gabrielle Lyon. She mentioned that the 1 gram per pound of body weight. And then of course there's also some people say upwards of 1.5 to 2 grams per pound of body weight and everything. So again, you're going to have to look at your activity level, and of course the recommended daily allowance, or RDA. A lot of the stuff that is put out there is the bare minimum and everything. So for instance, 50 grams of protein is usual the RDA number that he put out there. So for someone like me, 50 grams of protein isn't going to do jack shit and everything. So I actually had listening to it, I actually had to quickly go about the numbers and see how much I'm actually intaking, because I don't track what I eat in the number scale, and oh, this is how many grams of protein, this is how many grams of fat and carbs, and this is the calories. I don't necessarily do that. I mean, I did using MyFitnessPal and everything. So if you're just starting out, that doing something like that is highly beneficial. So you can sit there and look at oh, I'm getting 500 calories of garbage from this donut, and I'm getting 30 like 60, 70 grams of sugar and everything, and that's just going to spike my insulin. And then an hour or two later, I'm going to be hungry and I'm going to want to pound some more carbs and everything. So like depending on where you're at and everything, you're going to want keep reiterating to look at how much you actually need and everything. So like if you're up in the fat a little, to replace that garbage and everything, you're going to do yourself a whole lot better. But of course, like anything, you want good quality food. You don't want the ingest that garbage, like the ding dongs and donuts and everything that I usually do. So in regards, and I was quickly going through it, it seems I'm eating about 2,800 calories a day, and that seems to be around maintenance for me. But of course, again, I'm weightlifting and I'm doing cardio or at least most days, 5 or 6 days a week. So that's why my calorie intake is so much higher. So the basis is 2,000 calories. So you kind of have to take that in regard, okay, well, how active you are. So me eating about 2,800 calories is kind of relevant to how active I am in regards to being in maintenance and everything. So someone who might be sedentary, might only and doesn't do anything for physical activity, might only need 1,800 calories for maintenance and everything. That is in regard to maintaining your weight and everything. So I actually had to break it down and everything. So I intake about 213 grams of carbs, 265 grams of protein, and about 92 grams of fat. So that's about how much I take. Now it's not an exact science, because sometimes for blueberries you might get a pint of blueberries, and the two different packages might be slightly different. One package might be 95 calories, and the next one might be 90 calories or something, and the third one would be 100. So usually it's an average. When you come across information on the internet and everything, usually you're coming across an average and everything. So and you're giving yourself a ballpark figure. So it's not exact science with that calorie intake. So now with the 265 grams of protein, now the reason why I take in so much and everything is because I'm lifting and doing cardio. And of course, a lot of times people will say, oh, that's way too much and everything. You need to cut back, because you might damage your liver, and or your kidneys aren't going to be able to handle that much protein and everything. It's I've been doing a high protein approach for quite a while now, and I don't have any ill effects and everything. I very rarely get sick. The only time I go to the doctors is for yearly physical, and pretty much everything checks out. Now, of course, again, you're going to have to look at your unique situation and take what I'm saying, and then take the information that you check and double check with websites and stuff. Now, I'm going to link the Dr. Gabriel Lyons, and her website is a .com one. So check with her, double check with the .gov.edu, and double check with what other doctors that are doing the research, in a sense frontline research right now. See what they're doing, what they're talking about, and what their recommendations is. Take the information on what you're getting, and see how and what you can apply to yourself and everything. So and I have mentioned that you also want to take in consideration that there's a doctor that has released a book eating for your blood type, and of course you also want to take in consideration eating seasonally plus regionally too. So someone who lives in Florida might want to eat different, slightly different than someone who lives in the Northeast or whatever, because naturally you're going to be coming across in different types of fruits, and for instance down in Florida you're going to come across a lot more citrus based fruits, pineapples, oranges, and bananas. And here in the Northeast, you're more likely to come across fruits like apples and blueberries and blackberries, raspberries. So regionally, you're going to come across and you kind of want to do that because before the advent of modern technology and everything, we weren't able to travel as well as we were, and of course also be able to ship and transport food as easily and make it as readily available as we can today. So that's why like regionally is important and everything. So like and of course, like I said, seasonally, like because some like with this being March and like being in the Northeast, you're going to see like not necessarily like fruits and veggies might not necessarily be as readily as available as they would be during the summer and fall and everything. So, but like I said, I'll link the link to the Dr. Gabriel's Lyons page and everything, so that way you can go and check it out. And so, like I said, this I came across this and everything, and they're talking about like in a sense like making sure you get enough protein, making sure you're like lifting to like maintain like your muscle mass and your skeletal structure, and helping for your long-term health and everything. So like if you want to listen to the podcast and to as well, it's episode 428. It was just recently. It was just released this last week as of me recording this and everything. So like, it's a long listen, but it's definitely well worth it. And like always, I put stuff out like this for information, so I can pass it on to other people. So you can be like, okay, here's something to think about. Let me like see how I can apply this to myself and everything. So like, again, I'll link the website in the comments and everything, so people can go check it out.